is that the governance, state capacity and institutional development cluster, which is called GSKID, could be an appropriate forum to drive coordination. Furthermore, technical working groups or subcommittees should be established to support the decision-making. The PSC plays a crucial role in upholding good governance, accountability and adherence to the constitutional values. On the 12th of September 2024, the PSC, in collaboration with the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, the Department of Public Service and Administration, as well as the National School of Government, hosted a dialogue aimed at assisting effectiveness of service delivery for persons with disabilities. The event united representatives from various government departments, advocacy groups, and disability rights organizations to drive the transformative agenda forward. The dialogue themed Service Delivery Inclusion, 30 years and beyond, provided a critical platform for examining how well South Africa's framework over the past how well South Africa's public service has integrated disability rights into its service delivery framework for the past 3 decades. Throughout the dialogue, several speakers highlighted the gap between South Africa's progressive disability policies and their practical implementation, particularly in critical areas like infrastructure accessibility, healthcare, education, and employment. While South Africa has made strides in enacting progressive legislative frameworks, only a small fraction of public facilities are currently meeting the accessibility standards. This statistics underscores a pressing need for systematic reform. The dialogue also served as a clarion call for public servants, leaders and advocates to renew their commitment to disability inclusion. Moving forward, these efforts must translate into real measurable change, creating a South Africa where all citizens, regardless of physical or mental capacity, have access to service that reflects our shared commitment to democracy, equality, and social justice. This article is on page 6 of the bulletin. The Public Service Commission is currently finalizing a study on the utilization of specific categories of leave in the public service. The report titled The Utilization of Categories of Leave in the Public Service, Facts, Observations and Recommendations, covers an analysis of kept leave and other categories of leave. Considering the recent developments in terms of early retirement, the focus of this article is to consider the observations and recommendations made thus far with respect to kept leave, which remains as another cost in relation to exit from the public service. The total cost of kept leave in the public service currently, as of the 31st of December 2023, was standing at 16 billion 240 million 12,000 so as at the 31st of December 2023, the number of employees with kept leave is 189,039, which is roughly 14% of employees of the public service. That's a great number, that's a huge number. The greatest cost is within the national government, followed by the Eastern Cape, then comes Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal is the 4th. At national level, the total cost of kept leave as at 31 December 2023 was just under 4 billion. The department with the highest rand value of kept leave is the South African Police Service, with 29,989 employees who have kept leave, amounting to 1,489,663 days. The top 3 national departments with the highest number of employees with kept leave are in the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security sector. In relation to provincial administrations, the total cost of kept leave across all 9 provinces was at 12,299,718,847 rands for the same period. Across all provinces, the highest prevalence of kept leave is in the health and education sectors. Further analysis with these sectors, inclusive of both national and provincial departments, shows that education dominates the number of employees with kept leave in the public service, totaling to 96,096. The province with the highest number of employees is the Eastern Cape, with an estimated cost of over 2 billion rands. The health sector is the second highest sector of employees with a kept leave totaling 26,524. That's the number of employees. It is vital that the National Treasury conducts a cost-based analysis to understand what the cost of kept leave will be over the next 3 to 5 years. In doing so, cogitate the option of a once-off payout of 2/3 of the employees' kept leave now to reduce the future financial impact of paying later. Another option that the Public Service Commission is toying around is the option of allowing employees with kept leave to buy back pension with the current value of kept leave credits they hold, with due consideration, of course, to the GEPF rules. That article is on page 8 of the PALS, the full article. The Public Service Commission, in partnership with the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council, NACAC, and other key partners, commemorated the International Anti-Corruption Day with a National Anti-Corruption Conference that was held from the 9th to the 10th of December 2024 at Birchwood Conference Center in Johannesburg. The event was held under the theme, Uniting Youth Against Corruption, Shaping Tomorrow's Integrity. On the second day of the event, NACAC hosted a national dialogue on anti-corruption. The commemorative event brought together different stakeholders to have a dialogue in strengthening the existing corruption-fighting mechanisms towards creating an accountable society and improving service delivery. The Minister of Public Service and Administration, Inkosi Mzamo Buthelezi, delivered a keynote address in that gathering. He called upon government and stakeholders to work together to fight corruption as it threatens the fabric of our democracy and the future of our nation. He called corruption an administrative failure and an act of cruelty and betrayal of the nation by evil alliance of the very same people who we have trusted to be our leaders. The chairperson of the Public Service Commission, Professor Somadoda Fikeni, also emphasized a need to put words into action and intensify the fight against corruption. He said, and I quote, "It robs young people of their future and hinders service delivery," close quote. The chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council, Professor Firoz Kachalia, also addressed the delegates. In his address, Prof. Kachalia said the country was engaged in a long-term project of anti-corruption reform. International experience suggests that such efforts often fail, resulting from simplistic ideas and partial remedies. He said corruption in South Africa is systemic, evolving, and may be influenced by social norms and the socio-economic factors. We have to strengthen a range of critical institutions, including constitutional bodies and institutions of law enforcement, to foster the resilience, he said. According to Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index, South Africa has struggled to make significant improvements in curbing corruption. The misappropriation of funds, fraudulent activities, and unethical conduct have not only led to financial losses but have also hindered service delivery in crucial sectors such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Chapter 13 of the National Development Plan highlights the critical interventions required to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state that will play a transformative role as well as a developmental role in realizing the vision of 2030. Building of a capable, ethical, and developmental state requires public servants that are driven by high levels of professional ethics and moral conduct. The International Anti-Corruption Day commemoration should not just be another talk show, but an opportunity to evaluate strategies used in fighting corruption with a view to learn best practices from other countries and to internalize constitutional values and principles set out in Section 195 of the Constitution in our daily lives as public servants. We have a role to play in this endeavor. Let us commit today to fostering a professional, ethical, and capable public service. By doing so, we not only combat corruption, but also lay the foundation for the prosperous South Africa. Together, we can transform our public service into a beacon of excellence and integrity, setting the stage for the brightest future of all South Africans. Public servants and communities should always be on the lookout and report any allegations of corruption and maladministration to the National Anti-Corruption Hotline. The number is found in the PSC website, and the number is 0800 701 701. With regards to the non-payment of service providers or suppliers within 30 days, we received a Q2 report from National Treasury. So we're only reporting on Q2 here, which is from July to September, from the 1st of July to the 30th of September, 2024. So the third quarter that ends in December 31, the information we are still awaiting. It will be released in the next edition of the Pulse. According to the National Treasury's second quarter report of this financial year, all national departments submitted their exception reports on the payment of suppliers' invoices to the National Treasury as required by National Treasury Instruction number 34 during the second quarter of the financial year 2024-25, which shows an average time-year submission of 86%. This represents an improvement of 1% when compared to the average time-year submission of 85% in the first quarter of the financial year. Out of 42 national departments, only 19 departments fully complied with the legislation of time-year payments. You will find the list on page 9 of the Pulse Bulletin. It is, of course, an improvement by 2 departments, but still it leaves much to be desired because there are still many departments that are not complying with that prescript. Departments that consistently comply with this legislation are commended and encouraged to continue and maintain this performance and pay all legitimate invoices from suppliers timeously within 30 days as required by the Public Finance Management Act and its related prescripts. The number of invoices paid after 30 days, which means the invoices were paid but they were paid late, by national departments was 40,562. That's the number of invoices, and the rent value of those invoices is 752 million as at the end of the second quarter. The number of invoices older than 30 days but not yet paid at that time by the national departments at the end of the quarter was 2,133 invoices with a rent value of 265 million, which means that's the number of people who have been disadvantaged. The Department of Defense reported the highest number of invoices paid after 30 days during the second quarter, and the number was 35,517, which amounted to 348 million. This department was still the highest during the first quarter with 18,496 invoices, or 61% of the total number of invoices paid after 30 days. National Treasury is commended for efforts to continuously assist suppliers with queries on non-payment of invoices through its dedicated central email address, which is 30daysqueries@treasury.gov.za. By following up with transgressing institutions and providing feedback to suppliers with reasons for late or non-payment of invoices and possible date for payment or any other resolution. Out of the total of 98 queries received by the National Treasury, amounting to 48 million, only 2 cases have been resolved with the intervention of the Office of the Accountant General. Therefore, the Public Service Commission further impresses on departments, both national and provincial sphere, to cooperate with National Treasury so as to ensure that cases are resolved timeously. The non-payment of invoices within 30 days remains a concern to the PSC and a violation of the Public Finance Management Act. The Public Service Commission will further engage the Office of the Accountant General on mechanisms to ensure consequence management against accounting officers who fail to pay service providers within 30 days. Upon receipt of an invoice, particularly where queries are concerned, we have a full article on page 9 of the bulletin. On the overall number of grievances handled by the Commission as at 30 September 2024, which also goes to the second quarter, we registered have been concluded, and 104, which is 38%, remain pending as at the end of 30 September 2024. The Public Service Commission has noted that approximately 95% of grievances referred to us are referred by employees, whilst only 5% are referred by executive authorities. The referral of grievances to the Commission by employees simply means that these grievances have not been concluded internally in departments within the prescribed timeframes, which is a cause for concern. And we call on all departments to make sure that grievances are resolved internally within the prescribed timeframes, and if they are not resolved, they are referred to the Commission by the executive authorities. Since some of the unfair treatment cases include matters such as harassment, victimization, or bullying, the Public Service Commission, in an attempt to contribute towards sound labor relations, engaged in own accord engagements with departments. And based on the above mentioned, where presentations are also made to departments on harassment and bullying. In these presentations, both employers and employees are educated on what constitutes harassment in terms of the Code of Good Practice in the prevention of and elimination of harassment 2022. Departments are called upon to ensure that when an allegation of harassment of an employee has been brought to their attention, as the employer, they must consult the relevant parties, all relevant parties. They must take the necessary steps to address the complaint in accordance with the Code of Good Practice and the employer's policy. They must take the necessary steps to eliminate harassment and treat as confidential and protect all internal and external communication related to incidents of harassment, as well as identities of persons involved. It must be noted that failure to take adequate steps to address complaints of harassment within reasonable time may render the employer voraciously liable for conduct of employee in terms of Section 60 of the Employment Equity Act. Bullying has adverse effects on the bullied, the bystanders, the bully, and the organization. It affects not only the employee health, but also productivity, and obviously service delivery will be affected. Failing to address bullying in the workplace may have serious financial implications for the organization. And the bully should the affected employee litigate the matter, amongst other things. Presentations are also made on the amended PSC rules on grievances to ensure that departments and aggrieved employees better understand the amendments made and implement accordingly. This will improve compliance with the PSC rules when referring grievances. The grievances for the third quarter will be covered in the next bulletin. In terms of complaints, the PSC has a mandate to investigate, either on its own accord or on receipt of any complaint, personnel and public administration practices to report to the relevant executive authorities and the legislature. Personnel practices relate to, for example, irregular appointments, transfers, qualifications, compensation-related allegations, and public administration practices relate to, for example, procurement, irregularities, and poor service delivery. The own accord investigation of complaints handled previously and through the media reports. The Public Service Commission recorded a total of 487 complaints during the second quarter. The total number of cases reported against national departments are 84, provinces 38, and public bodies 330. The figure that you will find in the PALS will show you the stats, and it will show you that the largest proportion of complaints was received in the month of September, where 195 complaints were received, followed by 137 in July, and 120 complaints were received in August. The Public Service Commission noted that most of its investigations yielded positive results on improving good governance and accountability in the public service. In issuing recommendations, the Public Service Commission encouraged departments to maintain the principles conferred in Section 195(1) of the Constitution. The constitutional values and principles indicate the type of public administration that South Africans aspire to have. They define, beyond meritocracy, the nature of a South African public servant who will not only embrace the values and principles, but live according to them in executing his or her duties. It is prudent to ensure that every public servant is aware of the link between their attitude, conduct, and the need to embrace values and principles articulated in the Constitution in their daily tasks. The article is on page 13. The chairperson of the Public Service Commission, Professor Somadoda Fikeni, supported by the PSC commissioners, met with the kingships across the country since August to seek wisdom and guidance on how kingships can work together with the Public Service Commission to address the needs of traditional communities and to promote their well-being. Furthermore, the meetings discussed potential areas of collaboration between the PSC and kingships to enhance service delivery and development in their regions. The engagements will assist in preparation for the enactment of the Public Service Commission Bill, which will provide the PSC with the mandate to investigate and monitor activities of local government. A memorial lecture on Queen Mantatisi of Batlokwa in support of engagements with kings and queens on Friday, 14 November 2024. Commissioner Nancy Ngwenya attended a memorial lecture on Queen Mantatisi of Batlokwa, which was held in Free State under the theme Awakening the Warrior Spirit of Mantatisi. Traditional leaders looking back to take the institution forward. The purpose of the event was to celebrate and honor the great warrior, Queen Mantatisi, who took over the kingship of Batlokwa following the untimely death of her husband and led them through many victories, while the heir of the kingdom, who was her son, was underage until she handed power over to him in 1824 when he became of age. Commissioner Ngwenya praised the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders for identifying the need to celebrate heroes and heroines within the traditional leadership landscape, past and present, whose contribution has shaped the course of history of the institution and as part of promoting the preservation of culture and tradition of our communities. The Public Service Commission continues to assist public servants and ordinary citizens, as well as families, to resolve challenges that they face from different government departments, such as pension payouts for members and beneficiaries of GEPF, issuing of identity documents, social grant, etc. So we have an article that we have published that accounts on that on page 20 of the bulletin. Let me conclude by informing members of the media that the Public Service Commission, balancing the scales of leadership and management in the public service to build a weaver-bed culture, the bureaucratic intricacies. The members of the media are invited to join the webinar and report on such, because we view it as a critical platform for public engagement as the Public Service Commission. Finally, the Public Service Commission wishes all public servants and our stakeholders a joyous Christmas and a prosperous New Year. We wish those going on leave good rest over this period so that they may come back in January rejuvenated and ready to serve our people. We call on essential services workers to be on the alert and up their game during this busy period. Those who will be traveling, please behave on the road and be on the lookout for possible road hazards. I thank you.
Commissioner, for that comprehensive report. I think we'll take questions if there are any on our visual platform, but I believe, do you have anything? There's nothing on the visual platform. Okay, I suppose it was straightforward. Commissioner, we don't have any questions. I suppose it take us to the end of the media briefing. Thank you very much. Oh.